I'm going to be leaving pretty soon. I have to leave early in the morning before the woman in the office comes. So I have to leave earlier, than the library actually opens. Don't know if Marion has spies around here. We just don't know. If that stupid woman down the street becomes worried about my mom, she might, you just never know. You can't put anything past. The one who lied, who said, I never gave Marion any. Yeah, Marion wouldn't have known about anything otherwise. I gave you that before my mom got really bad, though she was slowly getting bad. But remember, Marion blames me completely. It's all my fault. Everything's my fault. Just like I blame myself as a kid, Marion, everything's my fault. My mom's illness, everything. She'd be fine if not for me. Whatever. I'm going to send, I'll be back in the shelter Friday. I'm going to send my caseworker, this letter today, this morning. I'll need to stop, actually, the bank. I'll have to, I don't know. I have to go to my bank, too, because if I want to get a flight to LA, flights go fast. Flights are more expensive. God, I'm looking at round-trip flights that are like $600 or more. And last year, when I was supposed to go with my shelter friend, I paid $350 each for a round trip to LA. And now they're costing almost double. Sick. Anyway, I have to put my glasses on so I can read this. Dear Bethany, okay? Shelter caseworker. It's all just making me ill. So sick. I can't take it. But anyway, dear Bethany, today's 6/11/14. I desperately needed to talk to insert the name of the woman I was supposed to talk to Monday. That's a couple days ago. On 6/9/14, I walked all the way to blah, 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 and that woman never showed up, equals she had forgotten about my meeting with her, a meeting that was unbelievably important to me, and that's an understatement. I wasn't. Do you think I was excited about starting therapy? I'm not excited about starting therapy. This woman was going to help me with legal. She understands. She's mentally ill. She's going to understand what Marion is doing to my mother, doing to me, and she's going to help me, and then she blew me off, And I'm not saying she did it on purpose. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm saying I am on edge all the time, and I couldn't deal with it. That's all. That's what I'll tell Bethany, I couldn't deal with it. Another disappointment, another when I was desperate. I walked all the way there. I killed myself to get there on time. And then she doesn't show up. And I waited around, and they were letting me leave a message with her. And then her husband said she didn't have any appointment with me. Yes, she did. She just forgot. She forgot. Number 3, I did bullet points. I had a mini breakdown at the blank, and then quickly took off before the strangers there decided to call crisis on me, because remember, they don't know me. They're strangers, and I'm breaking down. They're going to be quick to call somebody, Number 4, I could not believe that so-and-so had forgotten about me. I bought a pint of vodka and a coffee colada at Dunkin' Donuts. I slowly got blitzed and then went to the library to try to get a hotel for the night. I was drunk and had very little library time left. I only get 2 hours a day. Equals I ran out of time and was unable to find a reasonably priced hotel. I'm not sure what time to stay in. And then I actually reserved a hotel without using my credit card, but the computer shut down on me before I could print out directions to the hotel, whose name I was too drunk to even remember. I couldn't remember the name of it. It's one of those where you don't have to if you don't show up, they just cancel. It's kind of weird to me. I think you put in your info, and they apparently called my mom, and I don't know how it works, why they would reserve a hotel without your credit card. Kind of weird to me, because it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I remember I was drunk and I was desperate, and I couldn't write it out down in time, and the computer doesn't care about me and my life. The computer closes down when my time's up, and I'd use the library during the day, so I didn't have much time left to do this, and I couldn't find anything reasonably priced. You'd think on a Monday, my God, it's not a weekend, it's a fucking Monday. I couldn't believe it, and especially in my drunken head, I was like, fuck, it's a Monday and I can't find a hotel. That's cheap. What the fuck? All booked, even on a fucking Monday. So I hopped on blah 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 and went to blah blah blah. Not going to give away too much, but the bottom line is that I went to a different city because I didn't want to be in that city where the shelter people hang out. I went to a different city, a different Dunkin' Donuts in a city, a while away, not right down the street or anything. And they told me that they don't stay open all night. I know there were Dunkin' Donuts that stay open all night, even when in 2009, when my mom had the police escort me off her property, Marion forced her to do it. Even though I was getting a flight, I had my flight, I was leaving, I wasn't going to stay here. I'd only stayed to make sure my mom was safely out of the hospital. I wanted to get the fuck away from this place. But Marion wanted to make it dramatic. She wanted to force my mom to have the police escort me off my mom's property. They did. I was busy packing. She didn't think I would really leave. I hate her so much, Marion. I fucking hate her. God, do I hate her, and I read my poetry, and I know I'm a fucking brilliant writer, and I can't do anything in this life, and Mary's just this albatross around my neck. Anyway, I wandered around in the regular city where the shelter is for hours, and the thought of sitting all night inside that particular Dunkin' Donuts where I knew that the shelter people would be was utterly unappealing to me. So I did something spontaneous. I'm ad-libbing this, of course. I got cash from the ATM, hopped onto a taxi, and told the taxi driver to go to my mama's house. The taxi ride cost me $80. I knocked on my mother's front door at midnight. I was wasted and depressed. I cried myself to sleep. In the morning, I canceled my therapy appointment with named therapist. Couldn't remember her last name. When you can't remember her last name in the directory, has you punch in the last name? Couldn't remember that. Couldn't leave it in her mailbox. Left it in the general mailbox. I left 2 brief, quote, crazy, unquote, messages in the general mailbox at this mental health facility. My tearful messages mentioned things like how maybe someday something bad would happen to me, and my Aunt Mary would get what she has wanted all along, and only a non-moron doesn't realize that, okay? Marion would throw a fucking party if something happened to me. They'd have a funeral, and they'd pretend, and Marion would be gleeful inside of her evil self, evil head. Number 9, I told my mom all about how sick Marion makes you. Remember, this is my caseworker. My caseworker says, out of the landlord, my former roommate, Marion's the worst of the bunch. She's sickened by what's going on. Sickened. She tells me call elder abuse and all this crap. And my mom has to cooperate. My mom doesn't want me to call elder abuse. My mom just is terrified of Marion. It's sickening. I told my mom that I have to carry my stuff around all day in that shelter, that my back and legs were starting to hurt me again. It's not a lie. They were, and I'm scared. That I might wind up with agonizing back pain again like it happened to me in 2012. It could be a reality for me. I begged my mom to tell her social worker and psychologist the truth about Marion was doing to me. I told my mother that she had completely failed me as a mother, that I couldn't believe what she has been allowing Marion to do to me when I did absolutely nothing wrong. When the only, quote, crime, unquote, I committed was the, quote, crime, unquote, of doing what I had wanted to do for 10 plus years. He goes, tell my cunt of an Aunt Marion exactly what I thought of her. I admittedly left all those, quote, crazy, unquote, notes all around my mother's pig pen of a house. But I did not do anything at all to my mother's house. Nothing. And the idea of any therapist trying to teach me how to accept the unacceptable, accept what's unacceptable to me, i.e. that Marion is going to forever get away with doing what she's been doing to both my mother and me for too long, fills me with absolute dread and absolute rage. Number 10, I'm continuously consumed with terrifying to me fury that I have been completely internalizing. And many years ago, Joe taught me about a saying that goes, depression is anger turned inward. Number 11, my mother has decided, and it was totally her idea. I never expected her to do this. I just wanted her to start. And I know people are saying, you got to stop pushing Mom. You got to stop pushing Mom. What about me? What about the fact that I have a bad back in 2012 from carrying around my stuff when I was in that fucking shelter? My back pain came back and I was in fucking agony, wanting to die agony, okay? My mother is my mother. Marion's lying through her teeth. You know, I know she just got out of the hospital and whatnot, but it changes everything. All bets are off. This is to my friends. This is to that stranger that said, you're like a broken record. You need to leave your mother alone. She's going to wind up back in the hospital. Joe disagrees. Joe says, if my mother's going to wind up back in the hospital, she will or she won't, and it makes no difference if I'm pushing her to tell people the truth about what her fucking cunt of a half-sister is doing to me. And what her cunt of a half-sister does to her, does to my mom, you know. Look at the thing with the phone recently and whatnot. She just blows her off. She just wants her money, but treats her like it's ridiculous. My mother has decided, and it was her idea, to allow me to stay here in her home part of the time. I'm going to be like a fugitive. Whenever I'm at my mother's house, I'll remain inside the house. I will also be leaving early in the morning to walk to her library, you know, in the city, where I will be able to stay on the computer for hours and hours, because it's the boonies. Equals no 2-hour time limit. You only have to get off the computer if somebody is waiting to use it, and I could type. Most days that won't be the case. Number 12, I feel slightly better now that my mother has finally finally put me first and selflessly decided to give me part-time refuge at her house. But all of this still fills me with an unbearable depression because I am being treated like total shit by not just Marion. Not just Marion, not only Marion, but also by my mother's social worker, who always says to my mom, whenever my mom talks to her on the phone, Laura's not there, is she? You don't want to lose your housing. You know, buying into that shit, hook, line, and sinker, even though there's no restraining order against me. And believe me, these people in this housing, they couldn't force, based on Marion's hearsay or whatnot, you know. And I didn't destroy my mom's house. And Marion took notes, she took pictures. Well, I have videos, and the videos and her pictures would match up because I didn't do anything but hang notes up into the house my mother had turned into a living, you know, a pig pen disaster area. Okay? My mother did it all. I didn't do one fucking thing to my mother's house. Anyway, I'm being treated like total shit by not just Marion, but also by my mother's social worker, who always says to my mom, Laura's not there, is she? You don't want to lose your housing. My mother's social worker, and this is starred, knows the truth, yet is unfathomably to me, perpetuating Marion's lies. Number 13, I wish I were dead, but seriously, why give my lying piece of shit loser aunt that kind of satisfaction, right, Bethany? I'll still be meeting with you this Sunday, and I'll be back at the shelter Friday. Thanks for caring. Sincerely, me, very sad, LA.